Hello everybody, here we are today talking about whether or not NHL teams should be worried by recent goalie contract talks and just getting into all of that. So before we get started, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the NHL world has been buzzing recently with the talks of the Jeremy Swayman extension and then the fact that Igor Shesterkin just turned down the largest goalie contract offer in NHL history. These are of course things that are very concerning for NHL GMs, as they understand this could be a problem for themselves in the future with the cap and just trying to figure out how things could work, as their goalies could be looking at these deals and trying to decide how they want to ask money and all that. So I think one of the things we can talk about here as to why it is a little bit concerning with these contract deals is just kind of how they're playing out at the moment. With the Swayman extension, he is a player that has been good over the course of his NHL career, his short NHL career, mind you, but at the same time too, he was able to get paid without ever having to be a true starter. And he was also able to get paid without ever really having to be a guy that was able to go on a deep run with Boston. The Bruins haven't been in the conference final since, 2019 when they went on in the Stanley Cup final. And Swayman has never played more than 50 games in a season. He's been 1A and 1B with Ullmark. Ullmark's now gone. So Boston was kind of put between a rock and a hard place, especially with the fact that Jeremy Swayman was an RFA that was just saying, hey, I won't play until I get a deal. That's kind of a big issue for a team that could be relying on Joonas Korpisalo to be their starter after being a relatively good to great team over the past few years. So that's not good, seeing a player that really sticks to their guns and won't back down when they want to get their money. Now, as for the case with the New York Rangers, they're in a little bit of a different spot, but they could be very worried if they are the organization and other GMs seeing how this contract could play out because they know how desperation works. Igor Shesterkin is one of the best NHL goalies right now, so one of the best goalies in the world on a team that just won the President's Trophy as a top side in the league, that is going to the Eastern Conference Final 2 times in 3 years, that is trying to win a championship with this core that they spent a lot of money on. They have really tried to make a huge effort in trying to end that Stanley Cup final drought, and looking at this, they understand with him being a UFA after this season, they could go out there and lose him for nothing. They certainly aren't going to go out there and trade him because they are stuck in a spot right now where they want to be good, so they couldn't afford to lose him. But by July, they could go out there and lose him as there's other suitors. So they know they probably are going to have to give up an insane amount of money. They went out there and gave him or offered him $11 million a year, and it didn't work. It wasn't enough. He could theoretically go out there and ask for something like $13 million, which would be kind of crazy, but New York might have to find a way to make the cap work because they really need him to be their starter. That's why I think a lot of these GMs are seeing some of the side effects of this, seeing the desperation and how that backfired for those two organizations, saying, oh, I hope that's not us. And I think a big reason why these contract extensions are so concerning is the fact that there is so much desperation. A lot of the times these organizations really aren't able to have a good backup option or somebody that is able to fill in as a starter should there be a problem that could arise, like a player leaving or a player not playing intentionally. Looking at the fact that Korpisalo could have been the starter for the Boston Bruins, that really wasn't going to work. They needed Jeremy Swayman, so they made sure that he was going to be their starter. Looking at the New York Rangers, Jonathan Quick is a good goalie that is chasing, career win number 400 or something like that at this moment. But he's old, and he could not probably be the guy for 60-something games if you included the playoffs and a Stanley Cup final run. So for many organizations, they realize that you only either have two good goalies for a bit before one leaves in free agency, or you have a goalie that you're going to have to go out there and pay. And in this case, seeing everything we've seen so far, it's pretty clear that you're going to have to pay your goalies, especially over the past couple of days where these big numbers are being thrown out there. And I also think this could be a problem going forward because there is a 110% chance that other goalies right now are going to be looking at this and using this as a benchmark on how they want to get paid. Some teams in particular, I'm not going to mention names, are going to have a very, very hard time trying to keep their goalies when they're trying to be a Stanley Cup contender, and the money is just going to be very difficult to work out. You're either going to have to lose depth or you're going to have to lose their starter, and that's where things kind of become a problem because I think that a lot of people understand they're not going to go out there and get Igor Shesterkin money because not many people are going to be able to stack up to his resume over the past 3 years in particular. However, I think on the flip side of all this, they're going to see a guy like Jeremy Swayman who hasn't done a whole lot in the NHL just yet, even though it's been good in that time. And they're going to say, well, why does he deserve to get more money than me when I've been able to be better over a longer period in the regular season? I've had far more playoff success. I might have even had individual awards. Why should I take less money if he's going to be out there and being selfish? And in this case, again, this is just all hypothetical, but I can kind of see the ground that they stand on because they want that money. And when looking at all this, you can see how people would probably look at just recent examples of guys like Steven Stamkos that were just all-time greats for their organizations that end up leaving because the team won't give them money, even though they've done a whole lot for them where they were able to win championships. Again, under Stamkos, they won 2 Stanley Cups. They went to the championship 4 times. And for these goalies, they could see even somebody that's not playing their position, how they ended their career with an organization and had to go somewhere else for more money and say, well, yeah, if a team wouldn't give me that money in the future, why should I take less now when I should demand more for myself when I'm at the prime of my career? I don't think that's really unreasonable. Again, I feel like maybe even 10, 20 years ago, fans would expect more of that. But people probably understand in this day and age that they are players trying to make a living, and they want to set themselves up for the future, their families for the future. And these organizations are billion-dollar organizations that are, again, looking out for themselves. So it just comes down to, do you want to be out for your best interest? Do you want to try to help out the team and kind of find that middle ground? Or are you really going to go crazy here and try to help out the team in general? Nobody really does that, as again, they got to find a little bit of something for themselves. But for the whole Stamkos situation, I do feel like that could kind of lead into some other issues, which we've already seen with these goalies probably looking at the Swayman and Shesterkin deals. To close out this video, after I've already been babbling a whole lot, I think goalies very well understand that if they are a true star and they are a top 10 or top 5 goalie in the league, they're much more valuable than just about any other player on the team. Yes, some goalies are, benefiting from their system, but some goalies just are that good where they can play with a bad team in front of them and go on a tear. Other players are probably going to have guys below them. Let's say you've got a good first-line center. They might have a good second-line center, a good third-line center, maybe even a good fourth-line center. They might not have a difference maker that that first-line center would have, but they could kind of move things around in free agency and just figure out something where it could work down the middle. Whereas a case of you lose your starting goalie and you might not be a team that's able to go on a deep run again. So for goalies trying to get more money, seeing how everything's kind of transpired in the league here over the past few days, they are going to press that and say, we know our worth, so we're going to try to go out there and get what we feel like we're worth, knowing that they're more valuable than a second-line winger or just whatever you have kind of in this proposition, unless you're a top-tier player in the league where you are a rocket contender or just somebody that is able to play a good two-way game, or you're just an assist machine. You're probably not going to be better than what a starting goalie can provide. So I just think that right now, NHL goalies, GMs mind you, should be very concerned about what's going on here and saying we need to be prepared come the start of free agency because things could be looking very, very bad for us. So overall, what are my thoughts on this? I think that goalies should go out there and try to get the money that they deserve. But at the same time, too, you probably have to understand that you can't just go out there and demand a crazy amount of money just because somebody like Shesterkin demanded that. If you are a top 5 goalie, that's great. But you probably have to be realistic and say, well, I feel like I am worth more than this guy that's top 4. Therefore, I should get paid more than him. Not everybody's going to go out there and get, $10, $11 million. But I do think with what we've seen here in the past few days and even before this, a lot of these goalies that are good and young want those long-term deals and know they can get paid. So expect the cycle to continue and expect in the short term, especially for this to be a problem for GMs. Maybe it fizzles down here in a bit, but of course, I think it's more concerning seeing players using their leverage if you are a GM, knowing the fact that even if they're an RFA, they could sit, or if they're a UFA, they could leave. I think if this is going to continue on, again, it's just going to be a huge problem. But for me, in the madness of the NHL, I'm totally okay with it. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the recent goalie contract talks? What do you think of them? And do you think that this is going to be a good or bad thing going forward? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.